This is Curious Brain Thoughts.
So, having covered stool samples and microphone paraphernalia, how goes it?
Yes, good, thank you. What's been happening? Stuff and things have been occurring.
That can keep you very busy.
Yeah. I was reflecting. In fact, we were having this conversation the other day about looking back over your shoulder.
Song about that.
And going, is there?
Over your shoulder. Do you not know the one? Looking back over your shoulder.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Da, da,
I
da,
can
da.
see that look in your eyes.
That's the one. You got it.
Da, da, da.
Join us
Blah,
next week
blah,
for
blah, blah,
Karaoke
blah.
Thursday.
Da, 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 da.
Oh, she's still going. Oh, my God. So you were saying about
Mike
looking
and
back
the Mechanics.
over
Mike
your
and the
shoulder.
Mechanics. Yeah.
We're well good at this. In fact,
I
I
know.
can offer no value in terms of naming songs.
It
I
might
can
not
only
be
hum
Mike and
bits
the
of them.
Mechanics.
Well, let's go with that. I think it sounds great.
If we're wrong, tell us. So, just, we were having that conversation about, oh, wow, this time last year, etc. That nice point of reflection, looking at the difference between where we were at this point last year and now.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, that's just not a January thing. That's a wherever you are, whenever
Yes.
you are thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's quite a nice thing to do, isn't it? Because if we're relentlessly, not that we want to dwell in the past, but
No.
just appreciating the contrast and the difference, and therefore how far we've come. I don't know how that we do that often enough. So
No.
that's been a nice thing that's happened.
That has been a very nice thing. There's been so much that we've managed to do. The reason for the sniggering is Lou muted herself and just let out a lipper.
Better out than in, am I right?
Oh dear, which is nice. In fact,
I
that
know.
could even be a topic for one thingy.
What rippers?
Rippers, mate. So, yeah. I tell you what, I'm really keen to fire up the RTG
Go for it.
because I don't think we used it last time.
No.
And it's a massive
We
waste
didn't.
of electricity. So, let's compensate.
Random theme generator. Random theme generator.
Right, okay. Now, this is interesting because we have received an email.
Oh, nice. Check our big bad selves.
Yes, indeed. So, here it goes. Hi, Lou and Paul. I'd like to suggest the topic of lies. They raise questions about morality, such as whether all lies are harmful or if some, like white lies, are acceptable. Understanding why people lie can provide insight into their emotions, like fear or guilt, while exploring their impact on relationships reveals how lies can either build or destroy trust. Very interesting. Beyond personal interactions, lies also influence politics, media, and society, shaping our perceptions of truth. Blimey, it's a deep one, isn't it? Anna, hopefully you're looking. You got the definition.
I am looking.
Right, okay.
I'm looking it up right now.
I also recently watched the film Liar Liar, which is a very funny film showing a dad that is incapable of lying for a full day and his extreme struggles in his daily life by having to always tell the truth. There was that geezer that wrote a book as well about the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't think what it's called. Anyway, yours truly, your favourite, Lou, the panty sneaker is back.
Yes. The sneaker of the panties.
Sounds very peculiar.
Very weird.
Very
right?
weird. Okay.
So here's the definition.
Right.
An intentionally false statement.
Okay.
And
Sorry,
the
is that a
word
lie
intent-
or the truth?
And the word intentionally is underlined. Underline. You're on doing it on purpose. And there you have it. It's something that is intentionally false.
And I think in their intro, it's they sort of do a good job of kind of showing some of the spectrum, you know, the white lies through to influencing our perspective of the truth and what that really is.
And then the the onion that is lying to yourself, to the people close to you, etc., all the way out to as PS says, panties. I call them PS now. we've got a thing.
Right, okay.
As PS says, it's about, then ultimately there's somebody out there who we don't even know who's manipulating our perception of what's true and what isn't.
Yeah.
So the ironically, Paul, rather than starting with lies, let's start with the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a lie is the antithesis of the truth, what is the truth? Who decides what's true and what's not?
Yeah. Which I think is that's equally gigantic. So it's kind of
Just cover them both. Get on with it. Come on.
Okay, right, okay, great. Just cover them both. Here we are. So, yes, the truth is, I would say, to try and characterise it in as meta way as I can, is subjective. And because it is personal to in individual or groups of people, with similar values or thinking or whatever else. And so, so for some people, the truth is that eating guinea pigs is really bad. That's their truth. For example, people in Peru, guinea pigs are like a delicacy, a delicious thing to nibble on.
Slight side note, anecdote. I was in Cusco in Peru, which is where you go to acclimatise to the altitude before you go into the Andes, because it's really IOP it is, right? IOP. And I went into this church and there's this beautiful painting of the Last Supper. What was on the plate? I'm not even kidding you. It was guinea pigs.
I love that.
Because off of Peru, they do love it. It's a delicacy,
they love
etc.
it.
So their truth is guinea pigs.
Yes.
I guess you've got empirical truth, which is this is an observable phenomenon.
Yes.
Like, or we can do an experiment to create the conditions that allow us to observe this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that observable kind of empirical stuff, truth, in my opinion, is perception anyway. It's point of view and perception, not objectively true.
I think it depends how berserk you want to go, because I saw this thing with Professor Brian Cox the other day, and he was saying that the things that they thought were true, they're now finding out they're having to question. So even the empirical things, they're not entirely sure, which is a bit of a destabilizing challenge if you want to get into some sort of esoteric discussion about truth. So maybe we can pare it back and go, okay, well, let's let's maybe try and simplify that a little bit more. And that's why, coming back to what Le Pantois de Sneckers was saying, for example, starting with white lies.
But just to finish off on the truth, if the truth, even empirical truth, is always subject to change over time, and what isn't empirical is perception, and if truth is the opposite of lies, then does that mean what we consider to be a lie is also open to adaptation, change, shift in our perception? Maybe it does.
Yes. Yeah, maybe it does. And I think it's very layered. It's very, very layered. For example, the concept of a white lie might be that it's something very small and is close to the truth. Therefore, elements of it will likely be true.
Yes.
That's what they say, the best foundation for a lie, in all them spy films and that.
And
for your cover, you want to keep it as close to the truth as you possibly can.
So even if you're saying, my name's Mildred and I'm a machinist from Milton Keynes, it would be ideal if your name was Mary and you were I don't know,
seamstress
from Minchinhampton.
Exactly.
So
those, to be
I
fair,
don't think I've got that right, have I?
I
No,
think
I've
those
got that
two
wrong.
examples were literally on the tip of my tongue, so I'm so glad you said those. That's exactly what I was thinking about, was Mary and Mildred. I mean, I'm glad they've come up
Amazing.
finally.
Right.
That
So,
had some airtime.
so there being a grain of truth in the lie means people are more likely to believe it because you're more authentic.
Yeah. And the idea being that, as we've just talked about truth, it's whatever is true to you. So here's a weird one. Like our Uncle Alan, his first name was Norman. And I didn't know that until I was about 15 or something. And some post arrived at their house, and I said to Auntie Della, who's this N.A. Dykes? Who's that? And she was like, oh, that's Alan. I'm like, well, I can spell Alan. And she said that his first name was Norman, and no one ever called him Norman. Even in his professional life, he was an engineer. Everyone called him Alan. So I suppose it's, what's your name? Well, my middle name is Alan. Do you know what I mean?
I think that possibly, yes, because I would frame that as a choice, not a lie.
Yeah.
And I think maybe a lie has the intent. And I mean, the definition said intentionally false, and that was, Alan using his middle name was not a lie in the sense that Alan was also his name.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't like Norman, and fair play. No offense to any Normans.
I mean, we think
that
you're
was
storming.
Alan's truth. That was Alan's truth, right?
We think that Norman's a storming.
Fair play. So, the thing is, if your intent is to deceive or to mislead, because if you're intentionally saying something that's false, and maybe that's where white lies are. The intent is maybe to protect somebody or to do something that is, at the very least benign. You haven't got a malign intent. You want to. I don't know. I might tell you a white lie, Paul, to protect you from something that I think might hurt your feelings, for example.
Yeah. Or we might say something to our children to help them enjoy something.
Yes.
For example.
Not
giving any details, obviously.
Which is intentionally false.
Which is intentionally false, yes. Yes. So, however, it's not with a negative intent.
No.
So,
No.
does that
But
make...
where,
so
if
our
you're
lies...
trying, yeah.
It's a really tricky one, because then you go...
But if you're trying to manipulate then, or mislead, or so it does come down to the intention of the falsehood for me.
Yes. So then you go to things like espionage. The whole thing is founded on lies. I mean, how do you even know where the truth is on any level? Because it's all founded on lies. You know, you got no idea whether in a spy organisation or whatever you call them, you know, national defence, whatever it is, you got no idea whether or not you know the truth, or you may only know part of a truth.
Yes. I do think that lies with the intent to deceive or manipulate are corrosive. They're like battery acid for relationships, I think.
Yeah.
Because they do very quick. Once the lie is exposed, it burns through so many layers of trust, and that can be nationally. Think about how we feel when we've been lied to. You know, Boris Johnson here in the UK had parties at number 10 Downing Street during COVID lockdowns when everybody else was not visiting their elderly parents in care homes.
Or people dying.
And he lied. Not just did he flout the laws, he lied about it publicly. And that really was corrosive for his personal reputation. But and so I think we're brother and sister. If I found out that you'd intentionally deceived me about something, we would have to do an awful... I'm not saying our relationship would be over, but we would have to really do an awful lot of work to rebuild.
So why do people lie, even in, you know, just playing with that example, you know, one of us deceived the other or whatever, told a bunch of lies or something. I forgot what my question was. Oh, why do people do that? Because if I think about it, for me, it comes from fear.
Yeah.
Mainly fear, actually. I think that's the root.
Or trying to put themselves in a more advantageous position.
Oh,
so,
right, okay.
Do you see what I mean? You might lie.
Which is also fear, because I haven't got enough, scarcity. I want more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, scarcity at the heart of that, yeah.
Which
true.
Underneath that is fear.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's based on fear. Because you could say even with the much lighter or white lies, let's say, even with those, that's also in a way, maybe not even in a way, I think that's also fear-based, because, you know, the fear is if I don't do this white lie, then maybe my child won't enjoy something as much, or if I don't say this white lie, then maybe someone will be upset by something, or...
Yes, you fear that the relationship hasn't got the depth or the strength, capability to withstand the truth, or to withstand you saying the thing you want to say. It's not even that it's the truth. But
yeah, that's right.
You know,
that's a really, really good point. You know, just tuning into that for a minute. You know, fearing that the relationship, whatever that happened to be, of any kind, isn't strong enough, resilient enough for you to be able to say your truth, the things that you want to say. So even lying could also be actions. The absence of words. Not sharing how you're feeling.
Yes.
Not doing something. Interesting. And
I've
there
got
is
that scene from A Few Good Men running through my head, where Tom Cruise is the lawyer. They're in the army or something, and there's a trial, and Jack Nicholson's on the stand, and he just yells at him, "You can't handle the truth." But I think that there is that vibe, isn't there, when we lie, like you're saying, that fear or uncertainty that the truth. I think most people want to show up in a way that's kind and compassionate.
yes.
And that film that PS mentioned, where
Oh
this
yeah, liar,
person's
liar.
incapable of lying,
Yeah.
the thing that makes it funny is that they not only are they incapable of lying, but they have to say the things that are in their head. So
Yes.
the things that we would normally keep to ourselves, like, I don't think that colour quite suits you, they
Yeah.
would say it.
Or that fart really smells.
Yeah, they would just say it. And normally we have that filter, don't we?
Yeah.
Where we, if you can't say anything that's kind, is it necessary? Is it kind?
Exactly. So that's like you stay at someone's house or go for dinner or something. Oh, did you sleep well? Oh, yes, thank you. No. Oh, how was dinner? Delicious. Thank you so much. No.
Ugh.
So,
I mean, I think that's also the depth of the relationship. If I was at your house and I didn't sleep well, I'd just tell you.
rude.
And if I was at your house and I didn't like the food you give me, I'd just say, "Oh, that's rancid. Take it away." No.
That tastes like sick. I'm not eating that.
Yeah. Wouldn't feed that to my dog. No, I wouldn't say that, but I would feel okay to
Yeah.
be truthful about how I felt.
Yes.
But you're right, with some other people you just are polite and it's not truthful. But it's because maybe you've got a lighter, more surface relationship with them where they can't handle the truth.
Yeah, and I wonder how many relationships, therefore, so work, friends, family, partners, whatever, I wonder how many relationships are able to withstand people's personal truth. Because in that example, your truth was you didn't like whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it isn't nice in general,
No.
which could be someone else's truth. It's just that your truth is you don't like it. So I wonder how many relationships really we have can handle things to that depth. Because it's also, sorry, just thinking, it's not just the strength of the relationship, it's also the strength of the individual, or not even the strength, it's the awareness of the individual. Because look at imposter syndrome. People pleasers, those who say yes all the time and actually want to say no. So they're also lying.
They are, but to themselves,
Correct.
potentially.
Yeah.
It's that Brené Brown thing again. When you fit in for other people,
It's the
You
opposite
then
of belonging.
don't belong to yourself.
Fitting in is the opposite of belonging, yeah.
And so you're putting yourself last in your own life. And
I haven't got any experience of that.
I don't know. I mean, either. I'm glad some people have brought it to our attention, honestly.
Yeah,
Because I
it
don't
is
know where I'll
helpful.
go on with any of that. No.
No idea. I've literally never done that.
And then you think about the stories we tell ourselves, our inner dialogue, you know, that we take on as true. But they're not universally true.
No.
Otherwise, we'd all be thinking that way about that topic, and we don't.
And that's the other thing. Oh, damn it, it just popped out my head. The reason why, one of the reasons why maybe we listen to these stories is because they have referenceable elements of truth about them.
Yes.
So that makes them much easier to believe.
Yes. Yes, maybe. That's a good point. And in a way, if we framed those things as, therefore, white lies that we're telling ourselves, with a benign intent, because we actually at the end only want to keep ourselves safe, then what other story could we tell
Yeah.
that could be just as true?
Yes. So, for example, when I'm feeling a bit like, "Ugh, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this?" And I say, "It's okay, you've got this." In a way, that is a bit of a white lie, because I don't feel, in inverted commas, like I've got it. And yet what I'm doing is I'm telling myself, with positive intent, yes, you have got this, don't worry. Which can sometimes help to get to the place where I have got it.
So that's like a fake it till you make it type of vibe.
Yeah, yes. So you're kind of lying to yourself.
Yeah. It's so interesting because the way we look at lies that we tell ourselves is potentially not the same as the lie that's told between two people.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I still see them as corrosive, though, even when we tell them to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where limiting beliefs come from. That's where
Yeah.
imposter syndrome comes from.
And I guess without these things, there wouldn't be growth.
Yes, true.
So, it's just not possible to... I like the expression, a smooth sea never made a good sailor.
Yeah.
And so, if everything was like smooth and groovy and fine, we'd have no reason to grow.
Well, a smooth sea, I mean, you'd be a sailor of limited breadth, wouldn't you? You'd just be able to poodle along.
You wouldn't want any weather.
You really wouldn't. You really wouldn't.
Yeah, so...
Interesting. Very good.
It is really, really interesting. So,
And
lies.
I was just thinking, actually, I've got a friend who's neurodiverse, and she's very blunt sometimes in how she says things.
Mm-hmm.
That's how her brain is wired. But she can tell the unvarnished truth in ways that some people find unpalatable.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And she's aware of it. So it's been one of those social dynamic struggles for her, where she's just saying what she's seeing, and people don't like it.
Yes, because again it comes back to that's just her truth, potentially.
Yes, for sure.
And truth is also different from right and wrong. They're not the same.
No, but they are all relative. These are not fixed points where we can eat, because you even look at, and I don't want to get political about this, but you even look at, some countries feel that it's appropriate to have certain consequences for certain actions and others don't. What's right and wrong there? So we like to think of these things as absolute and fixed. None of it is. I just don't think any of it is.
Well, no, because we would much rather have the certitude of knowing one thing or another than dealing with the ambiguity and the nebulousness of, that is our existence, which is perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
So, therefore, does that mean that maybe lies are, like lots of other things, are an adapted part of our existence, our human experience?
Yeah, I think for me it comes down to intention. Is your intention to manipulate, to coerce, to abuse, and in those situations the lie is toxic, it is corrosive. Oh, sorry.
By the way, guys, you're welcome. That was a lovely little input from Diswald there. Yes, it is. Yes, and even you see, even those intentions, you ask someone who is a narcissist if the lies that they're telling are because they are wanting to coerce and control or whatever. That's not where they're coming from. What they're wanting to do is be understood, get their point across, or whatever. It's not necessarily, in their eyes, a negative intent. So even that has its own nuance and perspective. And that's why I'm saying maybe it's just become part of this ingredient, because something that can feel negative to you might not feel negative to someone else, to me, or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that we, in our society, in our culture, have things that we inherently perceive to be negative, bad, abusive, wrong, however you want to frame it. And I don't think anyone would disagree with that framing. But also, I don't think you'd ever meet anybody who's never told a lie.
That's right. Children do it. Like babies do it. You know, so they cry when, for example, they want attention, not because they're upset. So that's coercive and controlling in the thing that they're doing, because they are trying to get you to do something based on their behaviour. Well,
I think I would disagree. I think that's an adaptive behaviour based on survival. But I do think that
it shows the same characteristics, is my point. I'm not saying the baby is lying there going, I'm going to be coercive and controlling. I'm saying exhibiting that behaviour, the crying, in order to get attention or whatever. I'm not saying it's negative, by the way. I'm just saying, it has... I'm not trying to cast judgment on it. I'm just curious about it because it has similar traits to other behaviours.
Yeah. But I think that when somebody's will and intention is behind the behaviour, that's when it becomes something else. When it's pure survival, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But God, we used to have a thing in our house. Something would happen, and I would say to my son, "Who's done that then?" And he'd say, "Well, it wasn't me. It was Pixie Baggett." And he made up this pixie who lived in our house, who got up to all sorts. They wrote on the walls. They did all sorts of things they shouldn't have.
Little bugger.
And years later, I said to him, "You do know that I know who Pixie Baggett is?" And he looked at me and went, "Yeah, I know, Mum." But we entered into this little performance where, for certain things that weren't a big deal, like, a bit of crayon on the walls, he would ask me through the lie if I would let him off the hook, and I would enter into the lie and agree that I would. So in that was a really sweet example of a lie, actually.
Yeah, it is a very, very complicated space, really.
It is. You're right. It's very nuanced, very complex.
Yeah.
Context.
So,
context is king here.
Indeed. So I guess it only remains to say I've had a really great time. I can't wait for next time.
And we're all sensing the lie there, listeners, are we not?
That's your truth. I've actually really loved it.
Yes, indeed.
We could do another one like, oh yeah, let's keep going, and then suddenly end it, because that would be another lie, wouldn't it?
It would.
Kind of doesn't work so well now that we've described it.
Now that you know, indeed. Yeah, we've lost the old, what do you call?
Element of surprise.
Impact. There we are.
Right, okay, good. Well,
thank you, PS.
Yes.
For that.
Yes.
VGPS.
VGPS. Yes. we found it with the virtual GPS. And If anyone else would like to chime in, then do send us an email to curiousbrainfarts@gmail.com.
Boom shakalaka. See you later.
Ciao for now.
Curious Brain Thoughts.